We are seeing some very interesting price action around Doge the last couple of days, and I want to talk about that right now. In the previous videos I've made on Doge, this is a daily chart with Doge, by the way. I've talked about these critical levels that we have been hitting, and we're hitting them now. And I'd really like to see Doge break these levels and start a nice move up. And we've got two levels. Let's talk about them one at a time. One is this 0.086, it's a rough level, to up here around 0.088. And let's talk about this box right here. This box, to be clear. And you can see the market is reacting around that level and has reacted around that level for some time. Even back in November of last year, we got up to that level, was immediately knocked back down. We did break through that level back in December. This is a daily chart on December 4th, immediately came back down and tested that level here on December 5th. You can tell that by the wick right here. Tested it, tested it, tested it, tested it, broke through it, went back up, tested it. This turned from support, which was holding up price, to resistance, which was holding down price here. So we came up, bumped to the ceiling, came back down, had this brief breakthrough and break back in after some rumors were floating around on Twitter. And now the last 2 days we have tested this level. Really, the last 3 days we've tested this level by wicking up to it and wicking back down. Of course, the wick means buyers pushed price up to that level temporarily. And as soon as price hit that level, there were sellers sitting there, people, algorithms, whatever you want to call them, pushing and selling the price right back down. And the thing I'm seeing on price action the last 2 days is almost identical doji bars right here, which doji is you've opened and closed in almost the same point with wicks on top and bottom. That's just a battle. These are basically battle bars where the sellers and buyers are battling with each other and neither is winning, okay? Neither is pushing the price down or too high. So we definitely right now have this battle we're wrestling with Doge the last 3 days, specifically the last two. It's not just this level right here we're wrestling with. You'll notice this blue line right here. Let's zoom out and see what that blue line is. I'm going to go to the weekly chart because it's easier to see on the weekly chart because it encompasses, it holds a lot of data, okay? So back here in November of 22nd is when this trend kind of began. You can see it's a downward trend line that touches the tops of these wicks right here. And it's got an equivalent trend line down on the bottom that is touching the bottom of these wicks. This is simply a matter of lower lows and lower highs, which is the definition of a downtrend, which is this blue line right here. I'm going to zoom back into the daily. That same blue line is this blue line here on the daily chart, okay? So these blue lines that we're seeing, you can see them on the daily if I zoom out far enough. These blue lines that I'm seeing is the downward trend, and that's what we're trying to break above right now over these last 3 days. And that's a trend that was started back in November of 2022. So it's 15 months old now. So it's not any small trend to break. It's a considerable one, and that's what we're trying to break through now, which is why you're seeing these battle bars, this fight among buyers and sellers on Doge. We got to get through that level to make next moves up. And it's been interesting, let me go zoom back out again. Even when we had this fantastic run up in crypto, and Doge did the same of November and December of last year, we went up, hit these levels, but within about 2 to 3, well, that'd be about 4 to 5 weeks, we got right back into this downward trend again, popped back up briefly for a day, right back into it. So again, this downward trend is a strong trend that needs to be broken. That's why we're having these fights right now on the daily chart for Doge. Battle bars, trying to get above this level and this level. Can we do it? Well, I can't answer that. I do think eventually we will. I don't really doubt that. But will it happen this go round? It's hard to say. Here's how I've been explaining it. with the fantastic run up we've been seeing with Bitcoin, and we don't really know how Bitcoin's going to react. We never do over a long term perspective and over the next few months in 2024. Well, let's just look at this. Over the long term perspective, this is Lark Davis. It's a guy I follow on crypto. We have 60 days to the Bitcoin halving in April, 90 days to the first Hong Kong Bitcoin ETF approval or implementation. Okay, so other countries are also starting to implement Bitcoin ETFs for institutional supply. 98 days to a potential Ethereum ETF approval here in the States. 264 days to the presidential election. I don't know if that's bullish for Bitcoin, but I will suppose it generally is, as he listed it here. And he says no one is bullish enough. So the fact of the matter is, long term, Bitcoin's going to do its thing, and sometime in 2024, I do expect it to take out its all-time high. But short term, we don't know what it's going to do. I keep going into this. There are some thoughts based on historical price action and previous halvings, which here's the halving scheduled here in April, at least estimated sometime mid-April. Before in previous halvings, we've had this nice run up, and then we would run up, and then we would actually have a 20 to 30 to 40% drop in Bitcoin before the halving, before we would kind of basically base out or consolidate, and then eventually move much higher after the halving. So pricing would look something like that. Okay, and then off we go. That's the historical price movements before Bitcoin halving. So there's some that are saying that's what we're going to have happen again. And then, of course, there are others saying this. This is, I follow Milk Road. Milk Road is someone you want to follow. They have a crypto newsletter that comes out daily. It's free. You want to follow that. And they're showing that here are the daily inflows every single day into the Bitcoin ETFs, which is why price has been doing this since the last part of January. And the last 4 days, they put this out yesterday on the 15th, the last 4 days, we've had $2 billion come into crypto through the Bitcoin ETFs. And you can see by the size of the green bars, those are some of the biggest green bars we've seen since the ETF started, which means billions and billions of dollars is pouring into Bitcoin by the week. And if that continues to happen, it's a supply and demand thing. It's going to continue to push price up. So there's some that saying, look, we're really not going to have that 10, 20, 30% drop before the halving. Bitcoin's going to keep going up just because there's so much demand for such little supply. Either way, I guess my point on that was whether this is the break we're going to have, or whether we're going to do something like this, and if Bitcoin goes down to the 40s or whatnot before halving, we may have to endure something like that before we go higher. And then it's just going to be a matter of really how much money comes into Doge. And nobody knows that. Nobody knows which altcoins are going to get the biggest money, which altcoins are going to moon, as they say, which ones are going to take off. I know if you're watching this, you're hoping Doge is one of them, and I would hope so too. But we'll just have to wait and see. We really just don't know which ones are going to go. But if Bitcoin's making all-time highs, yes, we're going to absolutely obliterate, I believe, these highs. And then it's just a matter of how far. And nobody can really say how far. So we're kind of waiting in the next few days to see how Doge is going to react around these levels. Can we break above this trend line and above this 0.088 level really? Like I've shown you on the daily, can we break above that? Well, of course we want to. Or are we going to have a little pullback if Bitcoin pulls back and then reset for another try? But that's what you're looking at in Doge. That's why we're having some resistance right here, this circle right here the last few days. We're going to watch and see what happens if we can get through these two critical levels that are lining up right against each other. All right, that's my update on Doge. I'll watch it with you, and I'll be back for more updates soon. Take care.